just giving you 1 minute to switch on your video. Right, some people are switching on the video. That's cool. I think we can proceed. First of all, thank you so much for being part of this workshop today, and thank you so much as well, Pantelis, for inviting me to share my, let's call it, knowledge about tape talks and impromptu speaking. And I have to correct you a little bit, Pantelis. I'm very romantic. You just forget that. Anything else, I think I can kind of hook it off. And if you don't know, Pantelis and I, we worked together last year. It seems like last Toastmasters year to speak in the district conference preparation, and it was a very nice experience for me as well. And as you all know, impromptu speaking is one of those things a lot of people still cannot handle. And I personally, I don't know why. Because it's just a question you get asked, right? You meet someone somewhere and that person asks you the question. So why are you afraid of that? Why don't you answer? So what holds you back? And I want to share with you 7 ideas and ways how to tackle any question. I repeat, any question you get from someone. Of course, if someone is asking you what's your PIN number, you maybe won't tell the truth, right? You maybe want to give a different answer. I'm pretty sure on that. So welcome. Let's unleash your inner warrior together. We have some tape topics at the end as well. So listen carefully, because when you will ask tape topic question by Babis later on, I will evaluate you on your answer based on what you heard today during my workshop. Pantelis, quick question. Who is my timer? This you, Pantelis? Okay.
I'm your
thank
timer.
You. All right. Thank you so much. All right. Do you know what? Fear, fun, and Feta, they start with the same letter. So fear and fun, for me, are very close together. So, and I want to ask one of you from the audience, what holds you back if it comes to impromptu speaking? Any volunteer?
Fear of judgment, I would say.
Okay. Someone else?
Yeah, fear of the unknown. So in a way, fear of having your value depreciated or wrongly judged, as Pantelis stated.
Okay. Anastasia, what about you?
Fear of telling something wrong and evaluated very strictly.
Yeah, thank you, Anastasia. So you see there are different thinkings, and let's call them fears, why you don't want to be that person who get an impromptu question asked, right? But you know, this happens every day, every minute in our life. Someone is asking you something and you're just, oops, that caught me off guard. What should I say? So let's now dive into the 7 samurais of table topics. So a little bit of background. The 7 samurais, this is the original Japanese movie, not this fancy Western movie from the 60s. So those 7 samurai were hired from a poor village to help them defeat a group of bandits who basically siege them every now and then. And I think with table topics, it's similar. So you are the one living in that village, and someone is causing fear. And that someone, in this case, is, guess what? The impromptu question, the impromptu situation. And I give you those 7 samurai to help you come across of that. All right? Let's start with the first one. The first samurai who helps you here is the one who helps you to make a decision. What does it mean? Now let's imagine, and I'm here in Greece, so I will ask, of course, a question related to you guys. If someone asks you, why do you believe that Feta is the best cheese ever in the world? what do you do? Thing is this, some people immediately start to answer, right? And if you start immediately, you might not have a structure in your head. You just blow out something, but then you might get lost in your thoughts of trains. The one who makes the decision is the one who thinks. When it comes to table topics, impromptu speaking, but let's stick a little bit to the Toastmasters universe. You have 30 seconds to think before you answer and make use of that, right? So if you get this question answered, why do you think that the Feta cheese is the best cheese in the world? Then you say, I wholeheartedly agree because I'm Greece and my generations were raised with Feta and I'm, guess what, a fetishist, right? So you see, you really need to make a decision to give a powerful message towards such kind of question. So make a decision and stick to it. First samurai. Second samurai is the one who pretends. And you know this, same like me, there are a lot of people who think they know what they are talking about. I'm not talking about any politician here, right? Just keeping that in mind. So the one who pretends is exactly doing that. You can use a technique which is the 3-level structure. So just think about something in a question of the type like, you know the differences between the olives from Greece and the olives from Italy. I know the olives from Italy were anyway inherited from Greece, but that's a whole different story. So in this particular case, you can answer such kind of question. Okay, why do you think that the Greece olives are better than the one from Italy? You think, okay, it's because of this reason, that reason, and that one. You don't even need to be an expert in olives and how you grow them, right? Just pretend that you know. And if you do this with this structure at the very beginning, talking about this one, second point, third point, you came across as a very strong and knowledgeable person. Keep that in mind, because sometimes you are coming in such situations where you get a question asked and you don't know the answer straight away. But at least you can come across as a strong and knowledgeable person. Yes, I know. These days, everyone is talking about authenticity, but some situations simply require that you fake a little bit, that people don't judge you immediately, right? Because you maybe don't know about the topic. Just keep that in mind. So not everything requires 100% authenticity. The one who has two hearts. And that's something which I want personally relate to soccer. No, I should say football. We are in Europe, right? Soccer is for the American guys. So my father is fan of one club in Germany. You might have heard about Borussia Dortmund. Quite kind of famous in Europe, right? Yeah. And I grew up liking the other team, which is Borussia Mönchengladbach. And it comes now when they play against each other, I have two hearts in my chest. So, and I was like, okay, they should play a draw. No one should win. It's good for me, and I won't have any stress as my father later on. That's okay. So if you got a question, and that question goes, for example, in the direction, which club you prefer? I don't know, Panathinaikos, Olympiacos, in your case, right? Depending on the audience, you maybe don't want just to prefer this one or the other one. You can talk about, okay, Panathinaikos, I like them because of this and that, but I like Olympiacos because of this and that. So basically, you can give an answer based on the two hearts you have inside you, right? I don't know if someone can be a fan of both clubs in Athens, but it's a different story. and the one who avoids is the next samurai. And I believe that most of you have been in such a situation. Even not by yourself, but observing some people, they got a question asked and they're simply avoiding that question. Again, a very common scheme among politicians. And I'll give you one example from Germany just recently. You know, we have this new chancellor now in Germany, right? After 16 years of Angela Merkel. And when some politicians were asked, okay, what do you think about the area of Merkel? What will now be the future of Germany? And the interviewer, moderator, are asking very straight to the point question. So you think, okay, they can answer very easily because it's more or less a yes or no question, a closed question if you want to say so, right? Not an open question. So it's very easy to answer, but no. They always turn around in circles, right, and try to write the hot topic. And that is exactly what you can also do.
It's like you get a clear question, and that's also common in Toastmasters. If you have no idea about, or you feel very uncomfortable with the question, it's absolute okay and valid to avoid to answer exactly that question. As I said, you just can learn from politicians on that if you really want to, right? And then, and this is for me one which I personally think is something you always want to incorporate in your answers. And not only in your answers, every time you have a conversation with someone. For example, the famous elevator pitch you have, right? Or you're meeting some friends, when you have a little bit of a coffee and chat and chit chat. Make it personal. Yes, you heard this a lot, and it might be also a little bit of, I won't say overused on stretch too much and too far, but connecting on a personal level. That is really how you make, yeah, exactly that, connecting to people or connecting people like you do in Nokia anyway, right? If I'm allowed to use your slogan from your company, right? But it's all about making some personal connection. And the easiest thing to do is, if you get a question, try for, and I'm linking now this a little bit to also the contests that come up with in our district and club level, and some of you might want to compete in the topic contest as well. What helps me is, if I'm a contestant, I always put myself into a situation, imaginary, where I feel myself very, very comfortable in and where I have a good personal relation to. And for me, this is one of the islands in the Northern Sea above of Germany. So this is one of my second home, I want, so to speak. So, and if I'm just imagine to be there, and then you can ask me any question. So, and that feeds me something very, from a preparation point of view, linked to something personal. And then, of course, you can also talk a little about some personal experience based, of course, on the question you receive, right? Because you never know what kind of question you get, but try to make a little bit of personal. But again, try to incorporate in any answer you give to make it personal. Yeah, and then the one who lies. Yes, that's a valid answer to a question you receive as well, right? Who tells you, or who knows even that that person is asking, the person who asks you a question, that you are telling the truth or you lie? No one except you, right? And again, if you get a question, for example, and you feel completely uncomfortable with the question, and you simply do not want to tell the truth about that, it's okay to lie. It might sound strange, but sometimes, at least, or some people even say we are bending the truth a bit, which maybe sounds a bit more sophisticated, right? But sometimes it might help you to overcome a specific situation. Of course, if your manager is asking you just on the floor of the office, hey, give me the numbers for the last quarter. You might don't want to lie on numbers, right? You might want to tell the truth, but I think you know where I want to point to, right? Some situations, some questions you maybe just want to avoid by bending the truth a little bit, right? Just keep that in mind. Yes, and then we have that samurai, the one who simply just talks. And that is definitely a valid way of tackling questions and impromptu speeches and table topics. I personally have witnessed in meetings I've been now due to the Corona situation, you are able to travel around the world, right? That's why I'm here in your club, for example. If they get a question asked, to me, it looks like something's triggered in their head, and then some drawer is opened, and then you have your robot arm gripping into this, and it's like a prepared answer. So I personally don't know what's going on in their mind and how they can do that. But for me, it's really simple, like, okay, whatever the question is, they have some kind of prepared answers already, which I personally think do not even match to that question. And then, of course, you can think, okay, don't even need to answer to that question, which is okay as well. But for me, this kind of just talking is a little bit, it's a possibility to do that. But I think this kind of just talking is not like you draw something out of your stuff you have already stored here. It's more like, okay, you hear the question and you simply talk, and you can talk about everything, right? Let's get back to food. My wife has made recently keftides at home, right? The nice, very nice filled with, yeah, I'm coming back to Feta. Sorry for that. One filled with Feta. And when she asked me, Frank, how did it taste? You know, if your wife asks you about the food she made, how does it taste? You have two options. You either tell the truth, or you just talk about the food itself. The smell, everything, even from the moment of the preparation, start to smell already from the kitchen, right? So just think about something, just talk. That's perfectly fine. If you do that, just talk though in a direction that you just don't get lost by yourself. So if you want to start to talk about something by just talking, also have this train of thoughts with you already. Just don't start here, talking here and talking there and talking here and talking there. Just talking requires a bit of a kind of red line as well during your answer as well, right? Just keep that in mind. These are the 7 samurai. And before I make a summary here, I want to ask one of you from the audience just to repeat what you just heard. You don't need to give an example, but to tell me, okay, which 7 samurai you have just learned today. Maybe some of you knew them already, but in the context of this workshop, which samurai you have heard about? Is there anyone?
It's Paola speaking, and I found
Paola.
something very. Can you hear me?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. I found something very, very interesting because it was like I was not prepared for that. And it's about when you say make it personal. And I'm from Colombia, but I'm working in Europe from many years, and I studied in Europe. And you know, I have my Latin part and my Europe part, and my Latin is make everything personal, but the Europeans are don't make anything personal, right? Like keep. So when you were saying this one, I was like, you know, I'm trying to avoid make things personal for me and try to manage in another level. But we say make personal was like a really a different thing for me.
Thank you, Paola. And yeah, I have something to say. And you have just said something where I want to raise a little bit the awareness hand, if I may, so I'm allowed so. But sometimes, no, not sometimes, let me put this way. People growing up in a specific culture and they've come to another culture, like you said, you were raised in Colombia, right? You have your Latin American background, and then you come to Europe. So, you know, Europe is a huge continent. And believe me, even I'm in Switzerland living since 7.5 years, but I'm from Germany. You might think, yes, these are 2 European countries and they have the same culture and the same thinking. No, it's not. Right. So I just want to give you a little bit of hint that yes, you might think if you are not from Europe that people in Europe don't like to speak about personal stuff, but believe me, and yes, believe me, there are some people and a lot of people in Europe who talk about personal stuff as well, and they simply like to do that. Just keep that in mind. But I know where you're coming from because I have friends from Latin America. I know some living in Basel also since a while. And yes, if it comes to telling about personal stuff, they're very much open to that. And thanks for sharing that insight, Paula. Anyone else?
Can I say, Frank?
Yeah, sure, Pantelis. Go ahead.
So I learned this two hearts. I really like that. I mean, sometimes it's really great to show both views of an aspect, not really take a place, not really say that, hey, this is my opinion, but actually present both. I think that's a very nice trick and maybe conflict avoiding trick also for leaders, like within the team or something. I think this is a great samurai, this one.
Thank you, Pantelis. Babis, you are wisely shaking, not shaking, nodding your head. Shaking is the other way. Nodding your head.
I'm
What
acknowledging
about
the
you?
wisdom that you have conveyed. But it's true that sometimes you need to lie, especially on the professional place. Sometimes you need to invent stories or to invent excuses, not necessarily expose people or situations, because this is bad intention. But sometimes you need to come up with a good excuse and a good argument on the spot. So lying in specific margins, of course, is something acceptable.
Yeah, so thank you, Babis, and that's exactly why I was changing the term a little bit. So for me, it's more like bending the truth a little bit, right? Because there are some situations where you just don't want blindly and bluntly telling the truth, because this might fire back to you immediately. And of course, you want to protect yourself, right? That's what you want to do, or your team members, or whichever situation you're in. Yeah, thank you for that. So as a summary, yes, so we make a decision. So you hear a question or someone wants to have a statement from you, and you simply say, and keep in mind here, I strongly recommend that you just don't shoot out what you have to say. Of course, that depends on the question. If someone asks you about a topic, you are an expert and you know exactly what you want to talk about, of course you can do that. But if you get a question or a statement, you have to answer to that. You can definitely collect your thoughts before you shoot out your question, right? But then you come strong across, make a decision, stick to that point, and then just give the answer on this one. Pretending, right? Follow the three structured way, right? So you want to talk about this topic and this one, and then you give those examples. Keep in mind again, come across as you know what you're talking about. Maybe you just know about 2 of the 3 topics you want to speak, but this lets you come across as a strong person and the person who knows what that person is talking about. Have 2 hearts, as I gave you example from football, right? From Panathinaikos and Olympiacos Athens. Whatever other club, football club you prefer, I mean, any other sport, so I don't know. So just, it's also okay. There's always pro and cons, maybe you come across and you want to, there's something about, okay, why it's good to support this club or another one. So that's just a very simple example, but I think you can put it into your life as well, right? Then to avoid the question, that's something, if it comes a little bit to the idea of the area of Toastmasters, and you have one good technique here as well, I forgot this before, is that you say, oh, that's a very interesting question. And I think you have heard and seen this a lot of times, right? Oh, yeah, dear Mr. Toastmaster, thank you so much for that question. A lovely question. I really like it. But in the meantime, by just answering this, your mind already set up yourself, okay, I don't know nothing about this question, so you can avoid this and then just turn a little bit around and then tell about something else. And then, yes, again, we have make it personal, as Paola rightly mentioned. So, and sharing her observation that in most of the European countries, you might not find so many people to make it personal, but I personally made a different experience here. But that's, I think we have as many experiences as we are human beings on this planet, so this is good. But yes, make it personally always connects you better with the audience. And yes, you can lie or bending the truth. Let's put it this way, right? To protect yourself from specific situations. And then at the very end, of course, you can simply just talk about whatever you want to talk. Keep in mind, though, don't make it looking like, okay, someone has triggered something within your head, your drawer goes up, you pick something out, and then you take it. No, because I personally think every single situation requires a different answer. You just cannot take it out and give it like this, right? So I won't, that would not work, not really. All right, and this goes now to the Toastmasters universe. Again, whenever you are the table topic speaker, for example, later on, after or during Bobby's table topics, or in the contest, I want to give you one advice, and that is that you inhale the question. So basically, that it flows through your body, take it in, and guess what? Simply exhale the answer. It's that simple. So inhale the question, think about what you heard, think about the question you're about to get from Babis in some minutes, and then just exhale the answer. It's that simple. Believe me, it's simple. It requires a little bit of practice though, and remember what I said at the beginning. Fear, fun, and Feta. And Frank as well. They always start with the same letter and just make fun of it and enjoy. Time for some more questions. Is there any?
Is there any other F word we should consider as part of the success recipe?
Whatever. I'm not talking about fakalaki. This might be a bit too not appropriate here for the audience, but that's something different.
Okay.
No?
One question from my side. What if the samurais were more than 7?
You can have as many samurai as you want. I'm talking about here about those 7. I know some more, but I want to link this especially to this whole situation that you are in a situation where you are in danger, right? So and sometimes impromptu speaking situations you feel like, okay, in danger, I have to protect myself, I have to say something. So I find this a quite nice metaphor using this movie and the 7 Samurai.
My question goes to this
Yeah.
classification or categorization
Yeah.
of the approaches.
Yeah.
Is it a kind of, let's say, known standard, or we can find them, I mean, elsewhere, or is it something that you think yourself?
Okay, I know where you want to point to. It's, I wouldn't say it's a standard. That's something that I have observed during my time as a Toastmaster since 4.5 years, and even before I became a Toastmaster. So those 7 ways of tackling specific situations, they help me a lot. And I might come across as someone right now who is quite comfortable being in the front of people, right on screen, in presentations. I've not been that person. If you looked at it 5 years or 6 years ago, it would have been quite different. But those situations, those ways of tackling specific questions, so this helps you. So it's something which I basically have carved out of my last 5 to 6 years. Let me say it this way.
Okay, yeah, got it.
But if you're looking for standards here, I can looking for standards as well if you want to feel more comfortable on those. This is something personal experience. So I'm talking about personal experience here across the last 5 to 6 years.
Okay, quick question from my side. Okay, so in a situation
Glory,
where
right?
yes,
Yeah, Glory. Hi. From Ghana, if I remember correctly.
Nigeria.
Nigeria, damn,
Yeah.
but Africa. Okay,
Yeah.
Nigeria. Glory.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So in a situation where I respond with a question, so I've been asked a question, and then I respond with a question. Is it okay to classify such as avoiding the question or pretending? What would that be?
I personally would put it into 3 different categories here. So I would say it's, first of all, I would say it's avoiding, because you simply turn around the question, right? This is okay, you can do that. I would also put it into the area of just talk, because answering with the question is also that you just start to talk. That's perfectly fine, right? And no one has written down a rule. If you get a question, you always have to answer a question with a statement, right? Of course, you can answer with a question. Why not, right? And pretending, I would say yes, but written in small letters. So for me, if you are answering a question with another question from your side, I would say it's strong on the avoid category, and then it goes to just talk, and then it goes to pretend.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Welcome.